Hi. So I'm back. This is week 28 and 5 days. And I had it confused last week. I forgot what the date was, and I told you I was going to have a special guest. And, so I said 2 weeks from now. So I lied. It's today, and it's my mom. This is Terry. You can say hi.
Hi.
So, something really cool happened. So while at youth group one day, I was talking to another one of the leaders, Aisha, and she started telling me how she loves the vlog, and she started asking me questions for my mom to answer. And I was like, maybe I should, she was like, no, she said, maybe you should interview your mom. And I was like, you know what, my mom would like that. And she was like, you think so? And I was like, yeah. And so I texted my mom right then, and I showed Aisha the text, and my mother was like, I'd be honored. And I was like, see, I told you. And also, it was really cool. I thought that was a great idea. So, so I guess since I mentioned that, I guess we'll start with that and all, and then I'll tell you a little bit about how my week has been. So, Aisha gave me 3 questions. Well, kind of 3 questions. You know how you have questions, but they're either like loaded or double questions or whatever. So Aisha's first question, she wanted to know, she says, what are your feelings about how I go through pregnancy without a doctor or a hospital?
My initial feeling was fear, because I didn't know what the process actually involved. However, with the birth of the first baby at home, no, not at home, not that one, but the first one at the birthing center, opened my eyes to a whole new way of delivering babies. And that made me a lot more comfortable with the explanations I got as to what took place and how things went with the birth.
Yeah, so that makes sense. And I think part of the problem is that a lot of times people fear the unknown. They fear what they have never dealt with, never seen. And frankly, the honest to goodness truth is there are a lot of doctors, and honestly and sadly midwives as well, who have never really witnessed what a natural birth is. And when I say natural, again, I mean unmedicated, vaginal, but I also in this instance mean untouched. What one person this week was saying something about so she was saying that she suspected twins. She was in like the exact same situation as me. She suspected that she was pregnant with twins, and she felt like she didn't want to submit her children to an ultrasound, because this is sound waves. This is 90 decibels of sound waves. I think I said this in another video. It's 90 decibels of sound waves that you're shooting at your baby, and sound changes things on a molecular basis. We know that from science, and it's just a fact. And so we don't know what we're doing, and it's just not without absolute harm. So there are those of us who like to stay clear of stuff like that. And so this mom, she mentioned in a natural mothers group, no less, that she was suspecting twins, and that she and her midwife and her husband, they were excited and all. And she got a lot of backlash. I mean, a lot, because people took her not getting an ultrasound as negligent. They said that she was putting her babies at risk and all. And I have to laugh at that, because I'm like, that sounds so stupid to me, because prenatal care does not consist of Dopplers, ultrasounds, people putting their fingers in you or speculums in you. Prenatal care is nutrition. Prenatal care is like taking care of yourself, getting enough rest, things like that. That other stuff, it's not even necessary. It's some of it is downright harmful. It can introduce infection, all of the other things that I mentioned, and can cause a myriad of problems that the care provider then needs to save you from. So it's just, you know, such a crazy spiral with the whole thing. But it was really interesting to see that even in a natural mothers group, she got so much backlash, and pretty much they said that she had no prenatal care. And I'm like, now here's a woman who isn't even going unassisted, and she has a midwife, and for them it's still, because she's opting out of getting an ultrasound, she has no prenatal care as far as they're concerned. I'm like, you need to look at what prenatal care really is. But also it's kind of backwards, because as I see it, the moms that I know of, or women period, families who choose to go the unassisted route, they take better care of themselves than a lot of other people that I see who have a so-called care provider, whether that's a doctor or a midwife or a doula. They just do. They take way better care of themselves because they are taking full responsibility for their pregnancy and their birth and their well-being and that of their babies. And so it's a completely different ball game. And these women, I'm telling you, they are so on top of things. It's amazing. They're very in tune with their bodies, and like where people come up with the, oh, well, what if something goes wrong? Well, you're the first person to know that something is wrong when something is going wrong, you know, with your body. You're the one who lives in your body. Your baby lives with you, and you know, so it's just, you know, it's just amazing the way it works. So I'll go to the next question. So she says, at what point did you get peace about the way I choose to go about birthing?
At the second birth, which was Janae's birth, I felt peace because it seemed like Janae's birth was the easiest. The labor wasn't as intense, and the baby just came right out. No whole lot of issues or problems whatsoever. So, and we were home like 4 hours later, I think. 4 hours after she was born, we were coming back home.
Yeah.
And everything was all right.
Yeah. So, and that actually like is a good segue into something that I had never discussed that I said I would in one of the videos, where I talked about why that birth is and was my favorite, and it's because of exactly what you said. I was at home. Nobody was there. Like, you're my mom. Like, you're not gonna try to put your fingers up in me to see how far dilated I am and be like, oh, I think it's time to push. Like, nobody needs that. I equate that to like when you poop. You don't need anybody to put their fingers up in you and tell you, I think it's time to push now. Like, you kind of know. And so it was quite amazing for me, that birth, because I forgot that with Jayla's birth, I had all this stuff going on that goes along with hospital birth. They had me laying flat. They had me strapped to the machines. They give me Pitocin, which makes your contractions longer, stronger, and not necessarily more effective. And just all kinds of issues. And I didn't have an epidural, so I felt everything. And so when I went into my second labor, I'm expecting to feel that same pain, the trauma. I'm expecting to feel all that. And because I didn't, I literally just sat there and I went back and forth to the bathroom. I got in the tub at some point, and I'm just sitting there talking to you. And it was just a chill thing. It was nothing. And I remember like just feeling like, okay, this labor is, you know, when is this labor going to really kick in well? And at some point you said, I think you need to call the midwife. And I'm like, no, this is not even real labor yet. There's nothing. And you're like, your contractions are like a minute apart. And I was like, what? And I'm going through it. But at the same time, I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, like, are you kidding me? Because it just doesn't feel so, it's not that big of a deal. I couldn't even say that it was painful. It wasn't like I wanted to go and like the hills are alive, you know, frolic in the meadows, nothing like that. But it just wasn't, it wasn't horrible at all. And so I thought I was in the early stages of labor. And I remember, like yesterday, like when you had me call the midwife, she told me to let her know when I had been contracting that same way for at least another hour. And another hour later, we called her and said, yeah. And she said, okay, meet me at the birth center. We got there at 5:18. My daughter was born. And like you said, 9:45. I remember 9:45, we were back home. And it was wonderful because it was July 4th. And everybody, all the family came over. So it was like so uninterrupted. Like the whole family thing. And we had a baby, and I remember family members coming over, like Uncle Marty in particular, and Denise were like it don't even look like you had a baby. Like you're so like you look well. You don't look like, you know, just beat down. And I wasn't. It was perfect. Like that birth, and it took me a while to realize that the reason I love that birth so much is because it was untouched. It was not. Like when I got to the birth center and I laid up on the bed and all, after you said, my mom says, she says I must have had on like Velcro underwear and pants and all, because she said it was like 1 minute I was dressed and the next second I'm naked on the bed and ready to have the baby. And because she was literally like coming out of me as I'm walking to the room where you give birth. And I remember, man, my midwife, now, I go from the first birth where they're yelling in my face, push, push, and counting and all that, to this birth, the midwife leaned in to my face and she said, whenever you're ready. And that, oh my God, I love Anna Grizzard for that. I just love her. And like, she never counted. She never like screamed push, nothing. She just said, whenever you're ready. And I just had my baby, and it was so perfect and all. And so I learned later that what it was that I really enjoyed was like just people leaving me to bleep alone. Like, leave me alone. I can do this. My body is good. It works. You know, I don't need you touching, feeling, talking, you know, all this stuff. Just shut up and just be. Let's all just be and let this child come out, you know? So that's why that birth was like just absolutely wonderful for me. And I believe that's why it happened so quick, because nobody was bothering me. I was just able to just be and allow my body to do what it was going to do, you know. And I learned then that birth doesn't have to be painful, because it just wasn't. I cannot say that birth, you know, that there was pain, you know. So the last question is, what benefits do you see now compared to your experience with having me? Yeah, your experience versus supporting my experience.
Ooh. My experience with childbirth was totally different. Totally different.
Yeah.
All I got was one, and when I had that one, I knew right then I wasn't having any more. For one thing, my pregnancy was a little difficult emotionally, and just going through emotional issues kind of like didn't make it one of my favorite conditions. Mm-hmm. And when I finally went in labor, of course, there was the excitement of finally having my baby and everything. However, there were issues with the baby wasn't coming. My blood pressure was going up, and after about maybe more than 12, maybe almost 24 hours of labor, a decision was made to do a cesarean, which I knew nothing about a cesarean. I only knew about natural childbirth, which is what I anticipated going through. Mm-hmm. So the cesarean was really new to me. However, going through it also confirmed that I would never go do that again. I would never have another child. Mm-hmm. Because when I realized they were actually cutting my stomach open and taking the baby out, and then stitching me up and stapling my skin and everything. I didn't want to go through that again. So it was painful, very painful. I developed fever and some other complications. So of course I didn't see my baby for about three days, I think, 3 or 4 days.
Now that's ridiculous.
And then I finally, I had to rely on family members who were visiting to tell me what my baby looked like and everything. And her father, of course. But it was just a really stressful time that I chose not to visit again because my memories of pregnancy and childbirth were not the best.
Yeah. That just speaks to the fact that because your body is going through so many changes in pregnancy as it is, and then and you can be emotional and all, but it's like support is everything. Like, you know,
Truly,
it really is. It makes such a huge difference in the type of experience a woman has, and when she does not have that support, it's awful, you know. And then, man, like, were you like, you were knocked out completely, or were you up for your cesarean?
They sedated me because I had not been to sleep. I went to the hospital like 11 o'clock at night. However, I had been in labor since early afternoon.
Right. At home,
not knowing it. But I was in labor earlier, and I didn't have my baby until they took her at about 12:07.
Yeah.
The very next day.
Yeah.
So it was very painful because I went through full labor. I actually went through the labor.
That's what I was gonna point out too. That I know of the story because my mom has told me, and many times that you even got to the point where not only were you pushing, but they could see my head. I was going to say they could see your head. Your head's gonna come out of your vagina now.
right.
But yeah, but you said they could actually see my head, like playing peekaboo, and which to me says that you were laying flat on your back.
Yeah.
And then that, you know, like who poops? Try to poop laying back, like laying on your back. It does not work out. That's not good. We need to be in an upright position. But these things are all for the care providers' comfort and view, so that they can, you know, it's for them. It's not for us at all. You know.
And really, the viewing that was exposed. It was just too much exposure for me.
Yeah.
I'm more of a private person than my child is.
Yes.
And I was not very comfortable with a lot of people coming in all up between my legs like that. So
that's what it is.
It was just very discomforting.
Yeah.
So I knew it wasn't happening again.
Yeah. And you know, they say, whoever they are, say that in labor, a woman doesn't even care. Like, you know, as far as all the people in and out and excuse me, all that, but not necessarily so. You know, because when you have a person that is naturally more modest like yourself, no, that's a big deal. And you don't, like, there needs to be just respect for the person's just dignity, and just all that needs to be taken into consideration, but it's just not. And people just come and go as they please. They say whatever they want to say, and it could be off. Like, you know, just like I've been to births where, oh my gosh, like the doctor is talking about, he and the nurse are talking about who they know in common. He starts talking about baseball, and while the woman is pushing. I'm like, dude, shut up. All of you, shut up. Like, this is not the time, you know, for that. And oh my God, I can tell you so many stories from different births where it was just downright disrespectful. Some of the conversations, and just like they just treat it like it's just nothing. And I'm like, come on, like, you know, I'm all exposed here, you know, or this woman is all exposed here. Like, have some kind of, like, I don't know, professional decorum about you or something. It's amazing and ridiculous, the stuff that you witness as a doula and different births and what people go through. So let's see. So she said, let me see. I think that was the last question, but let me look at this. Because she said, what benefits do you see now compared to your experience? Okay, so you talked about your experience, and then so what benefits do you see with your experience versus mine?
Control. Being in control of the things that are happening to your body. And at the time that I was pregnant with Patrice, you were under a doctor's care totally. You didn't have no say-so over anything that was going to go on with your body.
Yeah.
Now, I know that I have a voice, that I can have control over any and everything that's going to be done to my body.
Yeah.
We didn't have those choices back then. I won't expose my child's age or anything like that. But no, you didn't have choices as to whatever the doctor said. That's what went.
That's today too.
Yeah,
it's still today. It's the thing is, if you don't know, that you can say no, because the way they put, like the way they'll present things to you, it is this is what it's gonna be, you know, and so you're like, oh, okay, well you're the doctor, you studied in, you know, that whole thing, and you know about birth, so I'm gonna trust that you know what you're doing and all. But the thing with that any really good midwife who's worth, you know, anything, she will tell you that yes, we have studied birth, but we have not studied your birth at this time with this baby. There's no way, like, this whole attitude of knowing it all is just stupid, you know, because there's always something different. There's always just little nuances, because every person is different. Every person is individual, and the baby too. And so even if you have the same woman that you've attended through 6 of her births, this 7th one could be completely different, because she's a different person, and this is a different person that she's carrying as well. So it's just not so cut and dry as, oh, I studied birth, so I know it all. It's just not that way. So now I guess I'll go into, like, my week has been really about, like, food. You know, I'm really learning to just eat, because I don't know, and you're like this, you gave me this, because I don't know, like, most people, they love eating, and the thing is, I absolutely love cooking. I love cooking from scratch, all that good stuff. But eating, if I could eat like once a month, that would be good. Not seeing, I would fill up and be good, like kind of like when you go get gas and it just lasts you for, you know, however long, like you got good mileage, and then you know, whatever. I would be my Saturn, because my Saturn lasts long with gas. My van does too. But like, I don't like eating like that. And man, I'm like hungry all the time. And then I have the issue of drinking so much water that I'll fill up on the water. And I learned this week, like, one of the things that really struck me, one of my midwife friends, she said babies that are hungry on the inside come out early. And I was like, whoa, like, you know, like, and these are all things I know, but you need to be reminded of things as you're going through them, because you just kind of forget. And I'm like, my God, like, I don't want to go into preterm labor, not at all. And so I need to, like, I have the sleeping part down pat, I'm good with that. But the, and resting is needed. But the eating, like, I learned that I should be eating, because I'm out of doubt and all, and I'm not in doubt and all. I definitely, like, believe, I'm fairly certain this is twins, but I should be eating like at least 4,000 calories and 150 grams of protein, and I'm like, who the heck eats that much? Like, what in the world? Like, but the reality is, you're supporting 2 human beings, and you're needing to have the nutrition that will help build maybe 1 big placenta or possibly 2 placentas, and that's a big deal. And then your blood volume in a singleton pregnancy goes up by about 50%. Well, in a twin pregnancy, it goes up even more. So there needs to be a lot of nutritional intake happening to be able to accommodate all this. And if it is not accommodated, that's when you get into your all these different conditions, preeclampsia, just so many different things that could cause you to have preterm labor and have all these issues and problems and all. And so because I'm not the biggest fan of eating, and I know that, I'm having to learn to like drink more of my calories. So I'm like trying to do some smoothies and trying to just pack it and pack it on and pack it in. And my friend Evelyn prayed for me that I would just like be hungry. And man, I'm like, girl, I told her today, I said, girl, your prayers work, because I am hungry like all the time. And it's funny because that's one of the things that kept me kind of in doubt that it was possibly twins, because I was like, I'm not that hungry, you know, but I was drinking. I was drinking a bunch of water and filling up on that and all. But now that I'm more like cognizant of the amount of water that I'm drinking and trying to drink more calories, like eggnog, just smoothies, whatever, I'm noticing like I'm freaking hungry. Like all the time, like I can eat, and then I don't know, half an hour to an hour later, I feel like I've never eaten in my life. And it's just like, oh my God. So that's what I'm working on, the eating and all, because I'm not I don't want to have any issues at all. And again, this is where, like I said, you know, people that tend to go unassisted really do their research and really like pay attention to their body. They pay attention to different things, and they're, you know, studying, and they're not just going on like, you know, by the seat of their pants or whatever you want to call it. And all, so it's really cool. So I will show my belly now. And my daughter told me to stand a little bit in front of my mother so you can actually see. So this is the front view. This is what did I say, 28 weeks and 5 days. And this is the side view. And so this is what it is for this week. And I thank you, Mommy, for being a part of the video this week. And I thank you all for watching. My daughter's in the background of the camera dancing. She's all, she's silly. Come say hi, Jayla. Come. She said no. So she's going to. So the video cut off before I could say goodbye.
You don't have to do that.
Now I'm saying goodbye.
Bye.